Thanks, Clinton. Good evening. Home automation is here, not simply some sort of dream for the future. Many users in this room use home automation every day. To accommodate this, our fellow developers created Home Assistant. Home Assistant is the dominant platform for extensible home automation and control. It's a software package that runs on Raspberry Pi and provides seamless integration for your smart devices. But what happens when your home automation breaks down and you need to disrupt the normal behavior of your automated setup? Enter AhaBot for Slack. AhaBot is an interactive, natural language chatbot within Slack that provides a unified, friendly interface for disruptive home control. Anyone here ever work late? So what happens if your lighting is set to turn on like when the sun sets and you're working late as usual and you haven't accommodated this? Tell AhaBot to turn off your lights. And what happens if you're working really late and you don't want your air conditioning to get cold until after you get home? Tell AhaBot to change the temperature. Now, the team and I have worked hard to provide for myriad forms of control and ways to check on the status of your home, and we're proud of what we've done. We hope you enjoy our presentation. Here's David to take you through the initial registration.
Hey, thanks, Matt. So to get started, the user first needs to go to our home page. There they're going to see a button that enables them to log in using their personal Slack information. Once they get to that page, they need to follow the instructions for authorizing their Slack credentials, as well as designating which workspace they want the bot to be installed in. After signing in, they're going to be sent to a registration page where they're asked for a URL and access token. These two pieces of information are critical for our bot's functionality. And once they're submitted, they're stored in our database where they can be retrieved as needed in order to allow the bot to successfully operate with Home Assistant. If they need help, they can click that drop-down button and be presented with a video that shows them how to access their URL. And beneath that are instructions for setting up a long-term access token. So after initial registration, they're sent to the registration success page. At the bottom of that, there's a link that takes them to the help portion of our website, where they can see a full list of the explicit commands they can use to tell AhaBot how to manipulate their home devices. Also on that page is a Add to Slack button. Once they click that, the bot is automatically installed into their designated workspace. And it also grants all the necessary scopes and permissions to allow the bot to operate in that designated workspace. So once that's done, the user is ready to communicate with AhaBot, and AhaBot is ready to communicate with the Home Assistant. And for more on how that's going to work, I'm going to pass it to Zeke.
Thanks, David. So, one of the things that made us want to deploy our bot on Slack is how widely used it is. Millions of people use Slack every day. And for the most part, they use it to talk to other people. So they use a very conversational tone and, speak like a human. We wanted interacting with our bot to be as similar to that experience as we could. This is a very common desire for technologies and people today. So there's a lot of tools and resources out there to help with that. Some of them are very robust. Things like Google's Dialogflow or Amazon Lex will help you build a chatbot with all of these features already built in. But we didn't want to go that route. We built a bot from scratch so that it could be fully customizable and that we would not only be familiar with the technology, but also how it works and how to implement it. So we built AhaBot in Node.js, used several different packages, including Natural.js to help with the natural language processing. The primary method of finding out The primary method we used to get information from user messages was intent classification, which takes a user message and breaks it down into an action and an object for that action to act on. Initially, we tried to do this with naive Bayes classifiers, but we weren't able to get the accuracy that we wanted. And we eventually switched over to logistic regression classification. And as you can see, it was very successful. And now Chris is going to walk you through some real-life examples.
Thanks, Zeke. So you've now seen how to add the bot to your Slack workspace, and you've also seen how you can interact with it using either explicit commands or just by talking to it using natural language. So you may be asking yourself, okay, cool, now what can I do to control things in my own home? Well, let's look at some examples. First, let's say you're working late and the family pet is at home waiting for its dinner. Well, if you have a smart electrical switch connected to an automatic pet feeder, you can activate the switch using the bot and it will dispense the food to your furry friend. Pretty cool, huh? So as Matt mentioned before, you can also control your lights, you can control your thermostat, you can even ask it how much gas is left in your car and get the answer right there in Slack. The number of things you can control with the bot is limited only by your imagination. So to sum it up, AhaBot is a natural language chatbot within Slack that provides a unified interface for disruptive home control. Thank you for your time and your attention, and we invite you to our booth for a demonstration.